Meet Little Woman fans. Last week Melodie and I started to dissect the chapter 35, Laurie's proposal to Jo. Now we are in halfway. I must say that every time when I have a guest in this podcast, it really gives me new perspective to this book and the story and also the films. Melodie and I will also be discussing about Laurie's proposal scenes in the movies. I think one of the major problems in most adaptations is that Laurie is incredibly idealized and his proposal to Jo is romanticized, and that is one of the reasons why millions of people ship Jo and Laurie and want them to be together. Do you know how many Little Woman films there are that include Laurie's proposal to Amy for the past 100 years? The answer is none. It has never been adapted. When Laurie proposes Jo in the novel, he is very abusive. It's emotional manipulation. But when he proposes to Amy, he has grown a lot. He is not abusive. He wants to be Amy's equal, but you never see the difference in the adaptations. We are going to discuss about the 1994 film as well. There are lots of people who see Laurie's proposal very romantic in this movie, and then there are others who think it's kind of creepy. I did find this essay, why Jo seems surprised and even scared when Laurie kisses her in the 1994 film, and this is written by Kitoki. I thought this was very well written, so a shout out to them. This is their answer to a hardcore Jo and Laurie shipper. Maybe I can explain why Jo looks scared and confused during Laurie's proposal scene. Laurie was proposing, along with his love, a life that she could not envision for herself. His proposal fueled those fears already in Jo, that she was not a typical girl and would never fit in and behave as expected of her. Her utter instinct is to very much run away from Laurie and the life he offered her, to be a housewife, and he fueled that insecurity she had and the doubts she had about herself. She could not resolve the turmoil within herself, her true nature versus what society expects of her. That where the first quote added to the gifts that comes in. Even if Jo wanted to marry and be the wife he wanted her to be, she knew she would never be happy. She may have known Laurie forever, yet Laurie did not understand and know Jo based solely on his expectations of their would-be marriage. Traipsing around high society, being the proper wife to the proper businessman that Laurie feels he must succumb to be to fulfill his family's legacy. He offered insignificant things, luxury and fun, never needing to work. Juxtaposed to the end of the film, where Beth proposes, bumbling and awkward as it may have been, her eyes are warm and excited, and the little time she spends with him, which was 7 months in fact, with an additional 3 years of correspondences in the novel, he encourages her passion of writing, her intellectual acuity, her tenacity and boldness, and never once proposed that marriage would mean a life of a typical housewife. He elevates her, in fact. I have nothing to give you, my hands are empty. She grabs hold of his hands and says, not empty now. She didn't need or want luxury or security, only love and support, and the freedom to do and be anything she pleased, both in work and in personality and character. He represented a partner which she could bumble through society with, not meeting those annoying expectations of conduct and behaviour. He was just as much a foreigner to such things as she was. The second quote to get gifts implies that those feelings of insecurity, those traits that made her awkward and incompatible with typical expectations of society, were traits to be celebrated and be awe of, which is what Bear is, completely in awe of her, nothing less than she deserves. Fluffy Cakes Estate has left a comment here. How willfully dense do you have to be to not get why a woman would look scared and confused when one man is proposing to her, but enchanted and adoring when a different man does? Question of the day. I love the 1994 film, but it has one major flaw. That is, when Laurie proposes Jo, he says that he's going to work to his grandfather and they can live in London or whatever. That doesn't happen in the novel. In the novel, Laurie says that they can just be lazy and live with his money. That's a huge difference. This is Small Umbrella in the Rain, Little Woman podcast. I'll hurt myself if you say no, and other red flags in Laurie's proposal with Melodie Ellison. Thank you so much for listening. A link to the full episode, I hurt myself if you say no, red flags in Laurie's proposal, is in the description. Take care and make good choices. Bye.